Dime a ver, mi gente. Welcome to Build. I'm Jennifer Mota, and we're here live from New York City with one of the most influential and respected Latin urban artists in the game. I am talking about De La Ghetto. Recently, he scored 2 nominations for this year's Latin Grammys under the Best Urban Music Album and Best Urban Song. Give it up for De La Ghetto.
Hey, thanks. How you
Hey.
doing? ¿Cómo está, mami? ¿Todo bien?
Aquí en la lucha.
I see that. How's everybody doing?
Hey.
Yeah.
So first off, congrats on the nomination.
Thank you.
How are you? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. You know, this is my city. I was born in New York, so I'm a New Yorker.
Yeah.
But I was raised in Puerto Rico, so it's always good to be back in New York.
Yes, and we're going to talk about that Puerto Rican experience in a little bit. But we just watched your video for Selfie,
Selfie.
and I have to comment on just like the dope transition in the beginning because
Thank
it
you.
really covers, at least for the track, it covers your essence that you've always has influence in your video and your music with R&B and
Gracias.
hip hop, and then it just goes into the dembow and reggaeton. One of the producers was Ghetto Star, right?
Ghetto Star, he wrote the record with me, and the other 2 producers is Lelo and Jazzy. It's this kid from Honduras, but he was raised, you know, in Puerto Rico. And another kid called Lelo, they're from PR, and, you know, they're just so brilliant musical-wise. They play instruments, you know, they write music. And when I heard the track, and it had the beginning, it had that, like, that 90s R&B essence at the beginning, and I was like, yo, this really sounds really different, really dope. And then when it just came in with that Caribbean, that Jamaican dance hall, reggaeton swag, and, you know, I just fell in love with the beat, the instrumental, and just wrote it right there on the spot.
Yes,
Yeah.
we felt that. You also appeared in your first solo album, Masacre Musical,
Also,
right?
yeah, Masacre Musical. I was too updated for that album. That came back in 2008 when I released that album.
Yes, and speaking of just being updated, like you had a single with Teddy Riley, the visionary
Teddy Riley,
producer.
yeah.
Teddy
People
Riley.
who don't know who Teddy Riley is, he used to produce for Michael Jackson. That was a really good experience for me because I met Teddy in L.A. We recorded that record back in, I think, the summer of 2007. And it wasn't easy, yo. Teddy had me in the booth like for 12 hours straight. And then when I got to the studio, I recorded the record. And then when he got to the studio, he was like, nah, do it over the whole thing again. And we were looking at each other like, yo, este cabrón está loco.
Yeah.
And it came out dope. It came out super dope, that record. It was called Serial Lover, actually,
Yes.
that record.
And I know, at least personally for me, as a Dominican American, I identified with it because I grew up listening to hip hop, R&B around me.
Yeah.
Now, my curiosity is, how was that in the island? Because you mentioned you were too updated for that sound. So I wanted to know, what was the perception like from your peers?
Well, you know, I got criticized a lot because, you know, when I moved to Puerto Rico, when I was like 8 years old, I was really bullied a lot, you know, at school, you know, the gringo, the white boy, go back to New York, go back to the States, you know, because I was always listening to, you know, rock music, hip hop, metal, R&B, whatever. So when that album dropped, there was a lot of criticism in the genre. Like, you know, what is that I got to trying to do? He's trying to change the reggaeton. We don't want that here, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, durante el tiempo y el proceso, the process, people starting to, you know, to fall in love with it, you know, because at that time, people in Puerto Rico, they wasn't that updated with the internet, you know? Now, 2020, we're going, now the younger generation, now they know what's going on because of the YouTube, because of the, you know, the Spotify, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, ahora tan adelantado.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they wasn't.
But you and Arcángel, you guys were visionaries in the sense that y'all hopped on it early on, way before.
Arcángel's from New York, too. That's
Yeah.
why. He's full Dominican from New York. I'm half Dominican from New York. So when we met each other in La Perla, we was like, yo, you know, nosotros no entendimos musicalmente because we had that, you know, that New York background, you know, that esa esencia americana, because we always wanted to do music with, you know, Latin music, but with that American flavor, that American touch. Because I never understood. I was like, I remember when 50 Cent came out, The Get Rich or Die Trying, everybody in the hood was popping that CD, but they didn't know what we were saying, lo que le estaba diciendo. So I wanted to do that same thing, but in Spanish, un ejemplo, and you know, so.
But you touched on something important. You mentioned earlier that people were like, oh, you're trying to change reggaeton. People kept thinking you were doing reggaeton. And something that we've noticed over the years with R&B and Espanol is that it's always been mislabeled. Teddy Riley created the hijack wave, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the Barrio Boys, they did that, and they were
first one.
promoted.
They were like the Boys 2 Men in Spanish.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember.
And they were promoted as Latin pop. And I know that for R&B and Espanol today, a lot of the newcomers are always having that conversation of like, no, we're not Latin trap. It's R&B. Like, this is R&B. It's not.
Because like I said, our Latin community is a little different. It's a little difficult. There's some of them are still stuck with the tropical, with the salsa, merengue, and reggaeton. So me being, second, third Latin generation from the States, I'm always trying to, empujar eso, hacer cosas diferentes. Y eso es lo que te hace ser diferente.
And it's noted because we have like the new cats like Liano who reference.
Yeah, you got Alejandro.
And Alejandro.
And you got other cats too, the younger generation, because they understand it.
Yeah.
Because they're the millennials of the new reggaeton.
You walk so they could run, right?
Exactly.
But they mention La Sensación de Bloque as like the earliest example of like that R&B and hip hop in a song where they were just like, wow, like this is dope. And they always make sure to give you those flowers and reference you. And La Sensación de Bloque, let me tell you, like. It had a young Jennifer walking into high school with her MP3 player.
I had a hoodie on in the projects. It was like 100 degrees in Puerto Rico. And when I did that record, I remember I did that record with Randy. And when I showed it to my boss, Zion from Zion and Lennox, he was like, it's a cool record, though, but they're not going to play it in the clubs. Like, you need reggaeton so people can dance. But I didn't understand that. I was like, but who cares? Like, everything doesn't have to be clubby, Vamos a hacer algo gufiado que la gente puede escuchar. People can just really just sit back and listen to it. And that record really blew a year after it came out. Because when I did the video in Puerto Rico, like, you see Yankees in the video, Hectorititos in the video, Voltios in the video, everybody's in the video. And I didn't invite nobody. People just came to the set without inviting nobody. So when I saw that, I was like, whoa, this is going to be a big record. Until today, I still sing it. It's one of my biggest records ever.
That's so dope. And then you mentioned earlier also just being born in New York and being raised in Puerto Rico. Now, I always kind of envy people that were growing up in Puerto Rico around the golden era when everything was being formulated and underground reggaeton to like reggaeton going mainstream.
It was cool. It wasn't easy for me. I grew with my grandmother. My father, he got killed in Harlem, in the mid-'80s, so I never met him. And my mom, she was in jail in Argentina. So, growing up with my grandmother, it was a little hard because, she was really, really strict, super duper Catholic, And like at the beginning, she didn't really want me too much listening to all this hip hop. And, I was really into, Guns and, Metallica and Wu-Tang, Pac, Hove, all that era. So, I always had to listen to my music escondido, hidden, outside, or in my room, you feel me? But, ella me enseñó cualidades, entiende, en la vida.
And what would you say was like your earliest memory of that era?
I was just free, I was just happy, as long as I had my CD Walkman, my Sony CD Walkman, my bus. I was taking buses everywhere and just listening to music. I was always in my viaje. Like when I was at school, I hated school. So I hated, living in Puerto Rico when I was a kid because I always wanted to come to New York and be with my other family, my father's family on my father's side. So siempre estuve en Puerto Rico, me tenían escondido de mi familia de acá. So mi libertad era siempre la música. As long as I had my music, I was happy. I didn't really care.
Yeah, and he just said that his freedom was always in music, which I think is very beautiful.
That music saved my life, actually. Había muchos momentos suicidio que yo estaba creciendo, pero la música siempre me ayudó a escaparme de la realidad. You feel me? So.
Yeah. And he also mentioned that it also helped him escape suicidal thoughts. And I'm glad to hear that because we have you here today.
Yeah.
Over 13 years.
13 years of career, yeah.
Congrats,
started 05, 06. Sí, mano.
Yeah,
Super
and then
feliz.
You mentioned earlier also that you're Miti Dominican and Puerto Rican. Now, your title to your album is Mad Caribbean. Like, chulo, chulita, chulo.
Los
Can you explain
chulitos.
to the crowd what that word means in the Caribbean?
I don't know, because in some parts of the country, like in Mexico and Latin America, chulito means like a pimp, but it's not really a pimp. Chulito means like, always dressed to impress. And like my mother always told me cuando salí de la cárcel, papi siempre tiene que vestir para impresionar, because the first impression es lo que cuenta, ¿entiendes? So, eso es lo que significa. And this album is a little more colorful, it's a little more street, more urban, a little more clubby. Not like the last album that I'm nominated for the Grammys. The last album was a little more mature, more musical, you know? So this album I wanted to come a little bit more, you know, más calle.
Yeah. And what motivated you to choose that name?
Because it's a name we always use in the hood back in the day. Dímelo chulo, lo chulito, chulo, chulo this, chulo that. So it just, you know, brings me back memories, you know, when I was younger.
And then you mentioned your clothing. You're always on point. Today you have a purple
Today
rain.
I didn't really have time to get
It looks
dressy.
dope, though.
But
You have a
hey,
purple rain tee.
Yeah, Prince, you know, I'm a fan, you know, since I was a kid.
I also heard you were a Guns N' Roses. Well, you are a Guns N' Roses.
I am.
You
I'm
admire
a super fan.
Axl Rose.
I remember one time, because, you know, back home when I used to live with my grandmother, we was 4 of us living in one room. So my section of my room, I had this little piece of wall like this, and I had posters of, you know, Axl, Metallica, Wu-Tang, Pac, whatever.
Oh.
I remember one time my grandmother, she just ripped all the posters out because her sisters, they were like super Catholic. It was like, le está escuchando música del diablo, that's Satan music and this and that, blah, 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 blah. And I cried like for months when my grandmother did that to me. So my older cousins, they were really into rock music, so they put me on to Guns and, you know, Metallica, Maiden, and all that. And I just really liked that band because actual, you know, that band, it had a little bit of like soul, funk, R&B-ish rock, you know, with the ballads and, you know, the melodies and the harmonies. So I really just fell in love with that band, you know. And actually, I saw them like 3 years ago in Miami.
Oh my God, how was that?
It was super dope. I paid like 3 G's for the tickets. And I don't care. It was beautiful. It was good. Me gustó mucho.
Wow.
Era una experiencia. Era una experiencia.
And now, just moving forward with the Grammys, you know, there was this big conversation about Sin Reggaeton, No Hay Grammy. What do you feel about...
I'm just celebrating the moment, you know, because the same thing happened with hip-hop in the late 80s and the early 90s. So, lo que pasa con el reggaeton, como yo digo a todo el mundo, right now, it's the biggest market right now in music. It's too worldwide right now. Es difícil de controlar. Pero como lo digo a todo el mundo, es un proceso. It's a process. You know, if it didn't happen this year, so what do we have to do so next year we can have more nominations for reggaeton categories? But me personally, I'm just celebrating the moment. So yo no sé qué decirte. Okay. I'm happy. This is my 3rd nomination.
That's all, and congrats.
Thank you so much.
So he was pretty much saying that urbano and reggaeton is pretty much like one of the biggest selling industries right now in Latin America, and it's pretty uncontrollable at this point, right? How do you think we can make a change or make things more organized for the future? Like
I said, it's just a process.
Yeah.
You know, it's not gonna happen overnight. It's a process, and right now, you know, lo estamos haciendo. Numbers don't lie, you know?
And tell me about your family. You have a daughter.
I got 3 kids, actually. I got 2 boys and a daughter. Yeah, 2 boys and a daughter.
Awesome.
Yeah,
and what are you looking the most forward to towards the end of this year?
Well, just, you know, seguir trabajando, you know, and just, you always learn new stuff in the music every day. You know, it's been 13 years, so yo lo que quiero estar 10, 15 años más en esto de la música. Yo no tengo un plan como tal de aquí el año que viene. Seguir trabajando y que Dios me dé mucha salud y mucha musa para seguir hacia adelante.
Yes. So he's saying that he doesn't have like a set plan. He just wants to continue with the blessings and with God's blessings, with all the muses to continue making music.
That's it, you know.
So unfortunately, we have to wrap it up right now and move it on to questions. So we're going to move on to questions.
Hola, Gizzy. Buenos días.
Buenos días. Tú hablas español.
Sí.
Where you from?
Soy china.
¿Tú eres china?
Sí.
Wow. ¿De qué parte de China?
Del sur.
Del sur, nice.
Y quiero preguntar por qué quieres usar el nombre de la Ghetto.
Why do I use de la Ghetto?
Sí.
Funny. You know Fresh Prince? Will Smith?
Yeah.
There was this episode that Will tenía que ir para la escuela. He had to bring like un tutor or alguien. He brought Jeffrey to the school, like a show and tell. And Jeffrey was dressed up as Rafael de la Ghetto. So yo me llamo Rafael. So it was like a joke back in junior high. And kids used to call me Rafael de la Ghetto because, I always had I was just always into hip-hop music y música americana. Y fue como un chiste. It was just like a joke. Rafael de la Ghetto. And I just stayed with it. I just stayed with Rafael de la Ghetto and just shortening it out to de la Ghetto.
Okay.
Yeah. Gracias a ti.
All right, yeah, my name is DJ Belly. I got a question.
DJ Belly, what's going on, bro?
What's going on? How you doing? Is there anybody that you want to collaborate with that you haven't collaborated with yet?
Bueno, en más genre, Don Omar todavía yo no he grabado con él. Ese es uno de las inspiraciones musicales, porque Don Omar trajo mucha versatilidad al juego. He's one of the few cats that can like rap, do some gangster rap, and also do like a power ballad. Me sigue, so eso me inspiró a mí también, sort of a way. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for
Gracias a
stopping
ti.
by.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the
Muchas gracias. Thank
nominations.
you.
Mucho éxito.
Muchas gracias.
Please share with the audience where they can find your music, your
Hey.
social handle.
My Instagram, De La Ghetto Real. My Spotify, De La Ghetto Real. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I'm always on my IG. I don't really use Twitter that much and Facebook. But you can find me on Instagram, De La Ghetto Real.
Let's give it up one more time.
Thank you so much.